or our industry is the urban development industry comprising all the land developers and all those consultants who are associated with doing work to develop land. So we're an economic booster, about the seventh largest developer or seventh largest employer of people in Australia. For every $1 million invested, there's about a 14-to-1 return in the economy. So we're a really strong lever for economic growth. Our concern for population is that clearly the data is showing that whereas 1960 we probably had about 63% of the workforce were people in the workforce, and now I think about 40% of the people are in working age, and within 20 to 30 years' time we'll only have about a third of our people in working age. So that highlights the tremendous strain that we're about to put on our economy, largely through lack of workers. And with lack of workers comes lack of investment, and we can only see the economy spiralling in one direction. So our desire as an industry, recognising we're a pretty large industry and a large contributor to the overall economy, is that we would like to see a greater population surge in South Australia. The right age, because clearly we need working age people to pay taxes and to be part of our enterprise. We already know that an education is a great pathway for people into the state through any migration or visa encouraging program. And we also know that once people come here on any sort of visa, student visa particularly, they tend to like gravitating to a work visa and ultimately bring other members of that family here. So that's a really good program that we think South Australia needs to do more at. So we're not getting anywhere near the share that we would like in this state relative to what others are getting in the eastern states. And we've also got anecdotal evidence to suggest that a large number of Asian people particularly, when faced with the choice, go to Melbourne or Sydney because that's what they've seen or that's what they've heard on the news. So that suggests Adelaide, and particularly South Australia, has got a real challenge ahead of itself to promote Adelaide and South Australia as destinations. Not just maps, but not just positions on the map, but why you'd come to South Australia. And obviously our level of spending on household living, household goods, and houses themselves is better than other states. Now that we know that there are some very good piece of studies which show that that's a major influence in people's destination. Another major one is jobs, but we also recognise that it is a catch-22 or a chicken and egg situation. Sometimes you need a population increase to create the jobs. More and more jobs are non-manufacturing, so more and more jobs are, if you like, in the economy. Housing is one of those. It's a very big lever, as I said, to economic growth. So we're thinking that the economy will be really startled if we can get population increase, particularly working age people, and particularly if they can be related to the education system when they come here. And also, the other one is we think that the federal government ought to look at South Australia and Tasmania as states that are not growing to the same degree that the eastern states are growing, to give us some economic input. And so we're suggesting an economic growth region status be given for visas. We know that Perth or WA got the 457 status, which helped them get preferred destination status. We know why that was argued by the Western Australians. The argument for that being retained is not as strong as it once was, if in fact it ever was. We think that South Australia needs that sort of structural support to get more people here. It's absolutely critical that industries like ours make the point, because politically we are not getting leverage, and so the industry needs to highlight the plight of us relative to other states to get that. Absolutely. No, the most recent submissions that we made to the 400 series review, we as a UDIA in South Australia made a very specific submission on that, seeking the reinstatement of that, as well as the regional economic status. We were disappointed with the federal government's response to that. It would appear that they were hell-bent on looking at this submission or at the series of submissions to highlight red tape improvement. We support that. However, there are some structures that have got to be put in place to help South Australia. Our population decline as an average of Australia, as a percentage of Australia, is such that it warrants absolute attention through the structures, through the visa structures themselves. And we're not going to get that sort of support without industries like ours and others hopefully really supporting the need. And our politicians have really got to jump on this as well. Yeah, our concern is that the state government seems to have a yes-no policy on this. In some respects would like population increase, but publicly is afraid to declare that it should have a population growth plan. We haven't had one of those for almost a decade, and the last one was under the Rand government. We think it is really time for the state government to have a population growth program in place, and not only targets but also related actions to get those. And some of those relate to promotion interstate, some of those relate to promotion in our Austrade and international offices. Some of those relate to having some of our more widely known people promoting South Australia. We need a concerted program to attract people to come to South Australia and to understand Adelaide is a city of some size and some complexity and some vibrancy. We need it to be seen as a destination, and we can't just rely upon it being the scraps from the other states. We actually have to identify with our overseas people the destination value of Adelaide and South Australia. And I use those two as differently. Adelaide's got its city and its small city and its walkable city and all the features associated with that. But our regions are also very attractive to start enterprises for overseas people. And that's what appeals to a lot of overseas people. We've got great lands, we've got great lifestyles, and we've got products that we grow and make here that people want. And I don't think we really are hell-bent on promoting that at a way to get this increased numbers. It's one thing to promote, but it's another thing to promote with a real targeted number in mind, and I don't think we're doing that at the moment.